Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor and man's best friend as they travel through the vortex and arrive at episode 505, which is as unpredictable as Nitro 9. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
I like it when we work out the intro and then you throw just one more little special thing in there. I always love that.
It's nice when I can meld ideas together.
Yeah. Doing good. How about you guys? You guys have a nice Halloween?
It was okay.
It was just okay. You got little ones. You guys should be enjoying Halloween. All mine are outgrowing it now.
Well, unfortunately, Gemma woke up on Halloween with a sore throat, so she wasn't feeling too great. So it was kind of a lower key Halloween than we kind of anticipated.
Oh, that's too bad. Is she feeling better
Liam
today?
did not want to, not much, a little bit. Her went from a sore throat to a runny nose, so that developed quickly.
Yeah. Oh.
And Liam did not want to get dressed. Did not want to put his costume on. We were costume shopping. He was sitting in the cart. We showed him one. He saw the Spider-Man one. He grabbed it from our hands, threw it in the cart behind him, and said, "Yes, this is what I want." We get it home. He won't put it on. So we just joked that he was Peter Parker.
There you go. That's as you do.
Sean, how did Shy do?
Shy did pretty well. This was her first official, trick-or-treating experience. I think that she was cognitively aware of. I mean, they did little things at daycare and stuff, but had her parade at kindergarten, and then dressed up. She was a ballerina, and actually went around the neighborhood and joined up with a couple of other kids that live on our block, and went a couple of blocks beyond where we had planned on going because the kids kind of were in charge at that point. And, I got like 2 pictures from the back as she left the house. And after that, it was the adults struck catch up because they were just, and all the things that I never worried about as a kid. Say please, say trick or treat. Thank you. Look, when you run out into the street. Oh, good God. I didn't think of any of that when I was a kid, but thought a lot about that as an adult. So, but like a bandit, came home with a bag full of candy, which previous to this year, Shy's kind of not really into the whole candy thing. She didn't like chocolate. She would eat like sweet tarts or Tootsie Rolls. That was about it. Which A meant more for the rest of us, but B, it meant that we could kind of monitor her sugar intake, which we were pretty grateful for because this kid is, she doesn't do well on sugar. And for whatever reason, the switch has been flipped, and after several attempts to choke down a Snickers bar, she finally got one down, and then has now decided that she does like them. So we could be in some trouble going forward. Yeah, she had a lot of fun. I think we're all still kind of recuperating today. It seems like I'm pretty wiped. She fell asleep on the couch.
The one nice thing about Jim and not feeling well was we were back home by 6 o'clock, had dinner, went to bed at normal time.
Ooh.
Only had one group of trick-or-treaters come by. So
Really?
It was a pretty easy night.
Wow. Yep. We had a steady stream from about 6:30 to about 8. And I would say all in all, we probably had 70 kids total.
Wow.
Between 70 and 80 kids. And then for 18 years, my kids never asked to have a Halloween party or have friends over for Halloween. My daughter goes off to college, and then she comes home this weekend with friends from college and wants to do a fire pit in the backyard before they go to the haunted house. So I spent all day Sunday cleaning up the backyard a little bit, getting the fire pit ready, and then getting it set up and getting some fairy lights at our Christmas lights up around our umbrella in the back, so they had some light. And of course, then Holly went and got stuff for s'mores and things like that. So we got it all set up and then turned them loose. And then after they were done with that, they ate pizza and they all got their costumes, and then they all went off to go through the haunted house. They did that Project Tower, which Caitlin has been volunteering, and for the last 2 weekends she's been coming back and volunteering for that, where she acts in the haunted house. And so, but Sunday she knew she was going to have to go back, so she didn't take a shift. So that's why they decided to come here and go through it, so she could go through it with them. So
very cool.
And Mason just sat in his room all day. Actually, was online with friends all day, so he was socializing. It just happened to be over the internet.
Yeah, well,
it's odd how obviously there was nothing last year for fairly good reasons, but we never seem to get many trick-or-treaters over here. And we've had a couple of other families move on to the block that have kids, so we kind of thought that we'd have a bigger turnout this year. But we, set the bowl out and everything, and from all reports from the other parents who were home handing out candy, there were about 5. And that was it for the whole. That's kind of par for the course for us. But just a couple blocks over, kind of the same and steady stream of kids. And I had made a quick trip to the store, the Dillons over on Brookwood, and was coming back down Randolph, and man, that place was hopping. I mean, there were kids, and they were skipping and running down the streets, and the one set of kids that were going up to the houses while the parents crept along in the car because they weren't getting out. I mean, it was like old school Halloween. I was like, okay, cool,
nice.
But it's weird just from and this is not like different neighborhoods really. This is all within 10 blocks of each other.
Huh. All right. Well, anything else? I didn't do anything much this week, so.
I guess I did do my normal War of the Worlds on Halloween.
Oh, you did? Oh, good.
Yeah, didn't have a party or anything. Just just listen to it. And then there was that what's that new show that came back? I don't remember the name of it, but they dropped their first episode of the season on Halloween, so we watched that. I'm kidding. We watched Doctor Who on Halloween. Are you kidding me?
I think we all knew what you were talking about.
You don't think it was too subtle?
No. Unless what we did in the shadows, came back. I
think that one just wrapped, didn't it?
I have no idea. I stopped watching after the first half of the season.
All right. Well, should we talk about the episode?
Chapter 1, The Halloween Apocalypse. On Halloween, all across the universe, terrifying forces are stirring. The life of Dan Lewis is about to change forever. Why is the Doctor chasing Carvanista? And what is the Flux? I don't think I said his name right.
Does it have a Spanish flair? Is it Carvanista?
I think they did say it more like Carvanista.
I'll be honest, most of the dialogue in this floated right over my head because it was delivered at such a rapid pace and high pitch.
And an accent I'm not quite used to yet.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow. To get back into Jodie's accent.
And Dan really is from Liverpool.
As I say, then you put in the Liverpudlian accent and bow.
I thought Lizzie from Bake Off was going to help me, but I realized I relied too much on their subtitles on Netflix.
What'd you guys think?
I liked it.
Yeah, me too. The episode sets up more than it delivers. Let's be honest. There's not a lot.
What I expected, though.
Yeah, there's not a lot of story that. Well, I didn't expect that. And I think that's what I found fascinating about it. I saw a Radio Times article that referred to the episode as like a series finale but backwards. And I think that's probably the most apt description for it, because I think that's the idea, is that they wanted to show us sort of where we're going this season and then tell us the story along the way. And I think that's what they did a really good job of doing, was setting up the rest of the season, introducing the cast of characters, introducing the players. It's at the expense of having any coherency of what's happening. There's moments of picking it up, and introducing Dan, I think, was probably the primary point of this entire story. And I thought they did a good job. I think I really understand who the character is. He's this guy that's just this nice, genuine guy who loves Liverpool. who, obviously he works at the food bank, but he's, proud enough not to take any of the food home with him, even though he has none in his house.
No, he needs it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the establishment between and I can't say the dog's name either, but the dog man and
not Chewy.
Rover.
Yeah, the Lipari guy and Dan, and I thought that was a neat little twist on the fact that it's not an invasion, it's not his people coming, it's him getting his human because they're protecting the human race. And I thought, wow, man's best friend. That's kind of a neat thing. So I completely, after that, can forgive anthropomorphized alien creatures because they tied it into an Earthbound thing. So I thought that was kind of neat. I think it sets up the Swarm pretty well. It gives us a tease of what they are. We got the Weeping Angels, we got the Santarans, we've got this girl that's has somehow traveled through time because she knows who the Doctor and Yaz are, but hasn't met them yet they haven't met her yet, and so she's obviously has something to do with that story that's going to link us to the Weeping Angels. And let's see, what else did they set up? And then there's obviously
we saw her get transported back, so we obviously know that is all interconnected somehow,
right? And I don't know. It seems to me that that's not even the first time that she traveled back. So,
yeah, hard telling on that one.
And then let's see. And then the Victorian London where they're digging underground. There's we don't know what's going on there, but some guy's preparing for something that's coming. So
yeah, I counted I think 3 subplots throughout it. Of introductions of character, or 3 to 4, depending on how much the space station person winds up tying
there you
into
go. I forgot about him. Yeah,
which I think will lead to episodes focused on those characters and that storyline, while still tying into the overall Flux. I think it was a great start to a season where they're trying to do a full blown story throughout the whole season. I think it's a great way to introduce everyone. It's had a lot of good action, a lot of good intrigue. A lot of these side characters I'm interested in and want to know more about, so I'm looking forward to their episodes coming up. Didn't tip the hand too much on the villain to know what's kind of going on with it, other than he escapes and he's wreaking havoc. And obviously has a history with the Doctor, so there's a lot of great juicy stuff that I look forward to digging into on it. And I like Dan. I thought Dan was a good introduction and a good new companion to have.
Yeah, I'm not even sure the Swarm is wreaking havoc yet. He's obviously claimed a few victims, but there's not a lot happening. We don't know that the Flux and the Swarm are in any way connected yet either. So that'll be one of the mysteries that'll be unraveled. But I do like
but considering the effects that he has are so similar to the Swarm effects, I just or the Flux effects, I kind of assume that the two were interconnected, that he was behind the Flux.
I think you're foolish to assume.
Maybe.
I do like that we've hinted to this Doctor Swarm adversarial relationship, and that she doesn't remember who this is, but he knows who she is, and explains to her that they've danced through history in battle or whatever. I can't remember how he said it, how he alluded to it, but that was intriguing to me. Sort of feels like they're picking up on some of the threads of the Timeless Children, so they haven't dropped that altogether. I think Chibnall's embracing that and going to move that forward and give us some resolution to that storyline from last year too.
Well, not just with the Flux, but with the dog guy being part of the division, and that's the people who wiped her memory and helped do all of that.
Well,
so I think it's all.
Wait! Was the dog guy with the division? I know that the two people. I know that the two people that came to check on the Swarm when he was in the prison were part of the division, but I did not know that the dog guy was.
That's why she was tracking him down, was because at least he had knowledge of the division.
I think that's where it is. I don't think he's part of it, but I think that he was some way connected or knew about the division. I'm not sure that he was part of the division, because he was part of the Lupari force that was coming to save the Earth or protect the Earth.
Oh, yeah, I think the fact that aspect is a coincidence.
Oh, okay.
Because
I don't think that he was. That's one of those they called I came kind of, because he sure acted like he didn't really want to, but had to, because this is my human. I got to come rescue him.
And the doctor didn't know the Kavaris or the Lupines were heading to save Earth or even invade Earth, because she was trying to track him down before it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Whatever level of his involvement, he's definitely in the know of the division, which is why the doctor was hunting him down. So
yeah.
Of course, he was ready to leave her and Yaz to their own demise at the beginning of the whole story, which I thought was a brilliant way to launch into it. I mean, if you're going to hit the ground running, hit the ground running. By having the doctor and Yaz already, in peril from a previous incursion that has happened prior to where we pick up at the beginning of this, I thought that was pretty neat, and very exciting. I thought it was very fast paced and really gave you a flavor for what to expect this whole episode. That doesn't really slow down much, except for when Dan's on Earth and we're learning about him. It's pretty much as slow as this whole thing gets. And the guy on the guy on the space station, what's his name, Vistor, who's making his account. Vendor. Making his account, and that's pretty low key until he witnesses the flux.
Yeah, but his low key stuff was made up for with the special effects, which, wow, were they on point through this whole episode? I can, we only got 6 episodes, but that just means double the budget for everybody. I was impressed with them. Just me, nobody else.
No, I definitely was too. I'm thoroughly impressed throughout the effects through all of it,
and the makeup. I thought was even the dog, even not Chewbacca. Which realistic. I've seen a lot of people complain online about the look of this thing, and it's like, is this really all that different from the cat people in Gridlock?
No, it's not.
I mean, really.
I haven't seen it. Have you seen people complain about that? Because I haven't seen any complain about the costumes. I've heard a lot of people complain about the CGI, which I think they're being overcritical. Number one, if bad CGI takes me out of a story, then it's bad CGI. But this CGI didn't take me out of the story in any way. Now, is it Avengers level, Star Wars level CGI? Probably not. But is it bad CGI? Not by any stretch of the imagination. I think that they did a fine job with what they had. And there's a lot of CG in this, because we get a lot of space shots, a lot of space scenes in this one. Yeah. More so than anything we've seen before.
We've had worse CGI on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with both of you. I think in some ways, I wonder if the reach hasn't exceeded the grasp, but with only 1 episode under our belts, it's kind of impossible to tell. I think the Radio Times nailed it. This feels like a finale. It's big and bombastic and just all of this. It's like an RTD era finale. I mean, it's that level of kind of insane and everything going on at the same time, and lots of different story threads, and all played at one volume. And it was a lot of fun. It really was kind of a blast. I am concerned a little bit that I wonder if they'll be able to keep up the certainly the pacing, but whether or not the compelling nature of all these desperate threads as they come together is going to work or not. If it does, wow, fantastic. If it doesn't, it'll be a spectacular train wreck. But either way, it'll be cool to watch.
Yeah, right. I agree.
I don't know that I'm sold on all of these individual characters yet, but I'm really curious to know where they're going with it. And I thought the dollops of information as they came, it was kind of just enough at the moment that I needed it. Like the dog revelations that, oh wait, there's 7 billion ships, they're coming to invade. Oh wait, there's 7 billion humans, there's 7 billion ships, you're coming to rescue them. And we kind of, just at the time I was starting to get frustrated with, how does this fit into the story that they're telling? What is this guy's deal? Then they gave me that. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it seemed like just enough with each of them. There was a moment of genuine shock and kind of disbelief at the Weeping Angel. Yeah, I mean, I knew they were in the season. I didn't expect them to be in the first episode. And very cool to have one on Halloween. Didn't do much.
Finally. Well, I mean, of all things to put in a Halloween episode, it needs to be a Weeping Angel. Finally,
and a very creepy and effective scene that was.
Yeah.
With how it was put together. I didn't expect to see the Sontarans this early. Maybe a little stinger at the end of the episode or something, knowing that the next one's called War of the Sontarans. But no, here they are. And just right off the bat, took that helmet off and was like, wow, old school Sontarans. And I knew it was coming. But to see it actualized on screen was very cool. It was certainly a throwback. I think the Doctor and Yaz are in an interesting place with their relationship, which I quite enjoyed, honestly, just the two of them, even though they're a bit at loggerheads, it seems, because the Doctor, once again, is not being completely honest and truthful. But, I like where they're going with that. I like Dan. I think he's going to be he reminded me a lot of Jamie. I was going to ask if anybody else got that vibe.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. I didn't while I was watching it, but I could see that.
Just kind of his earnest befuddlement through the whole thing, but willingness to jump in. It just kind of seemed like a very Jamie McCrimmon character. So
sure.
Happy with that, and looking forward to more. As soon as they showed the laptop, I knew. I was like, Dan doesn't own that. He could have hawked that for food. So I knew something was up with the laptop, but I didn't expect to see a shrinkage implosion device. That was cool. And I just overall, I would say pretty high marks. Like I said, it was chaotic and it was very messy, but it moved along and it was fun, and it was chaotic and messy in a way that kind of said, trust us, we know what we're doing. And so, okay, I'm along for the ride. I don't think the Doctor showed near enough concern for the TARDIS melting or doing whatever it was doing.
And the weirdness with the doors.
Yeah. But then again, she did have a lot on her mind at the moment.
The 13th Doctor is very much a don't worry about that right now. She's been like that throughout the entire run. So it wasn't out of character for this incarnation. It is a little out of character for the Doctor in all, as a whole, that they wouldn't be a little more concerned. But Jodie Whittaker's Doctor has been very much that we'll deal with that when we get to it. Well, so she is kind of the procrastinating Doctor. I'm going to put that off until I need to deal with that, and so that was very much in line. Keith, I want to apologize. You're right. The Carvanista is working. He is an operative for the division. So you did catch that.
Oh, okay.
You did catch that
good.
right.
Okay.
But he also is. He is also a Lupa in the Lupari race. So
double duty.
Yeah.
The other subplot that I think we're gonna see spin off into its own storyline is the woman who Dan was supposed to have a date with, going into that house.
Yeah.
That was all creepy and witchy. I think that's going to give it its own episode.
Right.
So I think we're going to have the 4 standalone episodes that will tie into the Flux in some way, and then tie it all back together again.
Yeah. Do you guys think that I like the little nods, especially at the beginning with the Doctor apologizing for using the unpredictable Nitro-9 earlier on. And then did you guys think Observation Outpost Rose was a coincidence, or do you think it's a tie-in?
I think it's a coincidence.
So you don't think it's a nod to the former companion?
It may be a nod, but I don't think it's more than a nod.
You don't think that particular post is actually named for her?
It could be. I don't know.
In universe.
Yeah, in universe is what I mean. Obviously, it's named for her meta, but
I don't know.
Maybe.
They said they have one more one more guest that they haven't announced who it is, a surprise guest. So I wonder if he'll sow some seeds by doing that and putting all of these different nods in there to make us like kind of second guess who this mysterious guest appearance is going to be. Because he has said that all of the, I think it was last week, they dumped a ton of the guest stars that would be appearing this year, and he said that some of them they weren't saying, so they were holding those closer to their chests. So we'll see.
Certainly hope that's not one of them.
I myself would be ecstatic, but I know how you guys feel about Rose. So
And I'm gonna throw this out there. Even Rose is welcome to come back as long as her return is warranted by the story you're telling.
yeah, I agree.
If you pull a Captain Jack and bring her back just so that you can go, look, it's Rose. Did you get that from the hint that we dropped by naming the space station after her? What's she going to do? Nothing. We just brought her back to prop her up in the window and wave. Well, then I would be just as upset.
To get viewers.
Yeah.
Stunt casting. I think one of the things that I think it was a bold move for Chibnall to name this the Halloween Apocalypse, especially as up in the air and how strict their COVID protocols were for shooting this season. And the fact that it altered the list or the number of shows, the episodes we were going to get. And there was, at any point they could have got delayed if they'd had anybody that had tested positive. So it was a bold move for him to go and name this the way he did. However, I'm going to step back from that just a little bit and say I think it was also cleverly done because there's not a lot of Halloween to this episode. There's the dropped line of Trick or Treat Doctor, and then those kids that come to Dan's door, and the funny, which we saw released on video last week, but the guy that comes up wanting candy, and he's this 35-year-old man, which I thought was hilarious.
I'm kind of curious about this guy. I want my friends in England to tell us, do you have trick-or-treaters who show up at your door that are not in costume with a can of beer and a carton of eggs in a kind of vaguely threatening manner? Because I'm kind of thinking, this is brilliant. Why haven't I not thought of this? Trick or treat or what? Well, I'm not saying I'm going to egg your house, but here they are. I don't know. It just seemed like it was kind of there. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe it's a Liverpool. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think I don't think Dan would have responded the way he did if that was normal.
He probably would have given them the candy.
Right. Here's candy.
If he had any left, he totally would have given him candy.
But there was the nice Halloween aspect of Dan thinking what's his face was in costume.
Yeah,
too.
that was the other thing
tying into the Halloween. I thought that was a nice touch too.
It did connect, but I did sort of think that had this not ended up being a Halloween episode, they could have easily tweaked this story enough to make it not happen on Halloween.
Yeah.
As with most of our Christmas specials, it's there in name only.
That's true. There's a lot of times that we just get kind of little throwaway things too. So it makes me excited for the season. I think it's probably the most. I think it's the most exciting start to a series we've had. I think Spyfall Part 1 and 2 did a good job of getting the series off the ground. Was that last year? I guess that was last year, wasn't it?
Last season,
yeah. did a nice job of getting it off the ground, and I thought that was probably at the time one of the best, series openers for a long time since the early days of New Who. But this really got me excited. This one very much is going to be a six-parter, even if these stories are the single standalones that bridge us back to this. To me, by setting it up this way, really makes it feel like Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, that it is a true six-part story that we're getting in the vein of, the old days. Probably, well, you were likening it to the last six-parter we got as in number, but I think this almost makes it feel more like a Trial of the Time Lord or Key to Time kind of connected series.
I'm excited by the season, by what this establishes, and having watched at least Broadchurch, I don't know if I've seen any of his other shows, but knowing that, okay, first episode's going to lay your groundwork and set all the pieces in motion, and the fact that he's now switching over to a serialized format for this season, I think it's going to only elevate the storytelling, because he's not trying to keep things condensed, and it's going to give time for things to breathe a little bit. And really, hopefully he had the time and the focus with only 6 episodes to really tighten things down so well for this plot that everything else can kind of just develop as it develops.
I think so too. I think this is kind of another one of those examples of sometimes less is more. And that when you don't have as much, you're forced to focus on what on the story you need to tell. And in a weird way, I think the COVID protocols and everything being as tight as it is probably forced their hand. I imagine that in a lot of, it would be very easy to look at this and lament, what we could have had, or this, that, or the other. But in a lot of ways, this is kind of like Jaws. The shark broke. Okay, so Spielberg had to get inventive with how to shoot the movie around the shark. And I think the COVID protocols may have spawned some of similar, necessity being the mother of invention here, where, okay, we can't do it that way, so we'll do it this way. And maybe they wound up with something better.
Maybe.
It's certainly intriguing. I did love, going back to Dan for just a moment, one of the real standout pieces of his arc thus far has been the conversation with Carvanista, the dog, where Carvanista, where he's where he's piecing together you're not going to kill me because you could have done that in my kitchen, so you need me. No, I don't. Yeah, but I think you do. And just the way that he, the way the logic leaps were happening for him in that kind of moment, it was very much, wow, this is a guy I can get behind, because he's not freaking out over the fact that he was abducted by a dog. He's not really freaking out over the fact that he's in a spaceship. He's more upset that he's in a cage.
And it's shocking him.
Dan's a very practical guy. We're going to deal with step one. I don't care that I'm on a spaceship. I care that I'm in a cage. Why'd you lock me in the cage? Followed by, well, you're not going to kill me because of reasons. And just immediately kind of had the upper hand in that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really clever and cool for him to be able to not only figure that out, but push that advantage the way that he did.
I like how the series really feels like it's giving Yaz something to do right off the bat. Having her play now, granted, when you've got Grant and Brian out of the way, it helps to draw the focus onto the one companion that's still there. But I think it's almost, what I like is the fact that they've clearly had a lot of adventures since then off screen. And so that lends to a wealth of, expanded universe stories that can be told and Big Finish audios to do and books and novels and things to write and comics. So I love that. I love the fact that we have that now well to draw from. But also I think what they did is by doing that kind of time skipped, it gave us the impression that Yaz, that the Doctor, other than still withholding a lot of information from her in this episode, puts a lot of trust in her as far as her capabilities by splitting up, and she's going to go confront. I can't remember his name again now.
Arvinista.
Yes, thank you. And that and sends Yaz to go off and free Dan. I thought, that says a lot for the relationship that they've developed now. That she trusts her, and they've clearly been in a lot of scrapes before. That they've got just based on the conversation that they have throughout this. So I really liked that. And I think the other thing that I really liked about this is it feels like the humor is back in Doctor Who. It feels like we've had funny moments in the past few years, but it really feels like the humor hasn't been where it was, maybe 5-6 years ago. I think since Matt Smith. I mean, don't get me wrong, Capaldi had some funny moments. Jodie's had some funny moments, but I think that overall, it felt like there was a lot more humor, and maybe that's purposeful since we're going to deal with such a heavy subject matter in this. Maybe there's we've got to do what a lot of good science fiction is doing now and balance that humor with the real heavy stories that we're going to be telling here. So I was glad to see that come back again.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree about Yaz. I love the growth that she's had because she was becoming more competent in the TARDIS last season, and now she is almost even level with the Doctor in all of this, and that is a great dynamic to have between the two of them.
She's practically flying it. I mean, she was there at the consoles reading back results.
She was helping.
And doing, so
hammering.
the call back to the rubber mallet. I love that.
Yeah.
Lots of good moments in this one.
Not sure how I feel about the idea of her whacking the console and TARDIS energy flew out.
Well, I got the impression that she
cracked it.
Yeah, cracked that where obviously where Rose had opened it up and absorbed the heart of the TARDIS. I think that the energy from the TARDIS, I think that's probably that same spot because it was kind of the same effect that we saw as well. Yeah, although it was more directed.
Yeah, the fact that she was able to crack it and direct the energy, it seemed.
She apologized. She apologized for it.
She did. It's true. I'm not saying she didn't, but should she be able to do that?
Yeah, I was fine with it.
That's another callback to Rose.
Yeah, see, there you go.
pretty direct one right there.
Yeah, there you go.
No.
Good stuff. We'll see what comes in the weeks to come.
Weeks to come. Well, how about now? How about what about this week? What about a contest? Didn't we say something about a contest?
I think we said something about a contest.
I think we did. If you tuned in last week, you heard us talk about the contest. If you did not, here's your chance to get in on the contest. We have, from our friends at Looney Labs, a copy of the game Doctor Who Flux. No relation to the current series, Doctor Who Flux. We're not giving you an advanced DVD set. Don't get excited. I mean, get excited, but don't get that excited.
2X.
Get that excited, but don't get excited for that. And so we're giving this away because, serendipity, it's the same name. And all you have to do is deliver the code word. And we're going to give you a different code word for each episode of the show as it comes out. And all you have to do is send that code word back to us. So the code word for this week, Glenn, help me out. What is the code word for this week?
Lupari.
Lupari. You can't say the name. I can't say the species. Lupari. Lupari. And so then we have opened up the mythical, epic Traveling the Vortex email. Glenn, help me out. What is the Traveling the Vortex email?
You'd submit your information by sending it to feedback@travelingthevortex.com. You can also go to our website and click on the feedback tab and fill out the box there, and that'll come straight to us, and we'll take those entries, we'll put them all together. And do you want to tell them about that? That's not the only time they can enter. They can every code word is an entry into the contest.
Correct. So if you get this week's and you miss next, well, you still have one entry in. But if you get all 6 of them, that's 6 entries into the contest, so you have a much better odds of winning in that regard.
And
so,
what do you think? People that are a little bit behind, as long as they get all of the code words in. So if you miss this week and you hear it next week, and then you come back to this episode, you still have time. You can. It's not a week-to-week thing. It's just if you get all the code words from all of the shows.
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Keith, you okay with that?
I'm also okay if they want to bank it up and send them all at once.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
In one big email at the end of the season.
Keith's keeping track of them, so he can make that.
I'm okay with one email.
Thanks for volunteering to do that, Keith. That was,
Yeah, no problem.
He's the keeper of that account anyway. All right. Well, good luck, and again, a fabulous card game that we have played actually. And if you go to our YouTube channel, you can watch us play it. And if you've never played it before, you can kind of learn along with watching us. And like I say, it's a lot of fun. And I think we did it. We did it for Facebook Live. I think was one of our game nights. And then we put that up on YouTube so that people could watch it. So you can see it either on Facebook or on YouTube.
And I think it's wildly serendipitous and appropriate because not only does it share the name of the series with Doctor Who Flux, but at least thus far, the impression that I'm given from the season is the game's kind of very much like what's going to be happening. The universe is going to be rewritten, new rules for everybody every 5 minutes.
Maybe
So.
Chibnall in his downtime had that game setting off to the side and thought, there could
Looney
be
Labs?
something here.
Take a bow.
All right, well, Sean, let's briefly talk about what's coming up on the schedule.
Well, coming up on the schedule next week, we've decided to review 5 books from the Virgin New Adventures series. I'm kidding. We're going to review the next episode of Doctor Who, of course. War of the Sontarans hits your screens next week, hopefully. And we'll be there to cover that in all of its majesty, hopefully.
Yep. Be sure to check out our website, travelingthevortex.com, to keep updated on the podcast. And if you get any value out of this podcast, why not to put some value back into it? You can do that by becoming a patron and supporting us on Patreon. And also, if you consider giving us a 5-star review wherever you subscribe to this podcast, that always helps. Make sure you join in the conversation in our listeners forum on Facebook. And if there's nothing else to cover this week, until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
No, I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.